Hello, I'm Philip Stoten. I'm at Apex 2023 and I'm with Eyal on the, I was going to say the Cybord booth, but you're actually a guest on the VTech booth because you're showcasing your software on their hardware. Exactly. Let's start with the product you're actually promoting here. Tell me a little bit about that.
All right. What Cybord does is looking at electronic components, and based on what we see, we can see if the components are good to use, if they're counterfeit, defective, or we can read traceability information on it. Basically, we look at components. Now, we usually work with images that we get from the pick-and-place machine or the AI machine, but in cases where you want to inspect a reel, even before it get acceptance to storage, we don't have any camera to do that. So we partner with VTech, and they build this machine for us, or together with us. And what it does is basically takes picture of all the components. So all the components in a reel are being, there's a picture being taken of every individual component. So we use this as input to our algorithm. So basically what the machine does is taking pictures of every component in the reel, uploading it to the cloud, and in the cloud we process it using our AI algorithms to see if it's a counterfeit, homogeneous, and so on. Okay. So this is how it correlates to this booth.
Yeah. So what I think is interesting is you're taking images at goods in, you're also taking images at the placement point, you're taking images again at the AOI, so you're getting multiple images there. And what you're actually doing is inspecting 100%, verifying 100% of what goes in there. IPC 1782, I believe, didn't actually cover the idea of 100% inspection, and they've now added the A acronym to do that. Is that something that was important to you, and is that something that the market was demanding?
Yeah, it was. Actually, when we started talking to the IPC guys, they were working on building the traceability standard, and there were like 4 levels of traceability that were available, depending on resolution and so on. But there was no such cases of actually looking at all the components.
Yeah.
The highest level of traceability was being able to have a serial number on every board and know all the components, lot codes and dates code that are associated with it. So that's the highest level of traceability. Now, this new AI technology allows us to have a higher level of traceability, which is individual component level traceability. So this gives a new level of traceability available. So this is how we find our way into this standard, by giving the new technology, enabling a new standard, basically. So that's how we got in. But of course, the pull came from customers, basically, first. So customers need this ability, not just because of they already have traceability, but using this technology they can have much more than traceability. We call it traceability, but it's actually the ability to have insights based on this traceability, and not just collect the data.
Yeah. So it's actual using that data for verification, using that data for production management, using it for all kinds of different processes. Your customers are typically OEMs or EMS companies?
Well, actually both. Originally we're trying to address mostly the OEMs because they're the ones that have the most pain if there's something wrong with the product. But we are also, in the beginning, this is how we worked. So we work with the CMs. We tell them, okay, you don't need to pay for this. The OEM does, and this is how it works. But after sometimes the CM comes to us, okay, I wanted this on all my lines, not just where the OEM is paying this, because this give me value.
Yeah.
So we changed the business model and we included the CMs for that also, because the CMs is getting 3 points of value from us, which is unique for the CM. One of them is the ability to block a reel which is, let's say, contaminated or counterfeit or something wrong with the entire reel. So, or with a big part of the reel. So you don't want to use that reel, so we just block it in the machine. So if you block it, you avoid all these 10,000 of components going on later. So that's one point of value. The second point of value is addressing the statistical failures in the industry, because we've been seeing about 3.5 billion components by now. And with this information, we can see the statistics of how many visual defects we have. And the numbers are about 100 defects per million. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It means that in an average production line, which makes about 1 million components a day, there's 100 bad components.
Yeah.
That's 100 boards, basically.
Faulty, yeah.
So it's a big number, but it's statistical. So it's maybe only one component out of a reel. So you don't have to block the reel because the reel is good. There's only one bad component. So the second value that we give is we are telling the CM on this board, on this location, on this serial number, there's a problem, and we give him the picture of the component and we tell him where it is and he can rework it. We're also working now towards being able to avoid a problem to begin with by dumping the components.
Yeah.
But this is in the works now. The third point of value is, remember again, we're seeing the images as of the components as they are held by the pick and place machine. So we're seeing things that are related to the process also. So if we see an empty nozzle, there's an empty nozzle. If we see a component that is picked up on the side like a tombstone, then we can also give the information about that. If we see the image is completely white, so the picture is not well, it means that the alignment will not be accurate, the attrition will be high, and so on. So this is the third point of value that allows to improve the quality of the process to the CM. In fact, we were working with very large CMs, and they started seeing like a downgoing curve of the attrition rate and the scrap rate and the rework rate once they start looking at components.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. So they're actually using it as a productivity tool, the OEM's using it as a traceability and verification tool, but again, a data collection tool. If there's a recall in the market, there's the potential to actually zero down those faults to something very specific. You said you looked at 3.5 billion images. Give me a feel for, you mentioned 100 in every million that are faulty in some way statistically. Give me a feel for the kind of faults you're finding. Are they counterfeits? Are they corrosion? Are they out of date, mismarked?
I was talking just about the random statistical failure, which could be either corrosion, which is a different subject, I will get to it soon, or body defects like cracks, broken lids, shorts that you can see in the image, and things like that. Yes, the average is about 100 defect per million. This is based on billions of components that we've checked so far. So we're pretty sure about that. But many people ask us, how can you know that what you're seeing is actually a defect? How can you see by only looking that what you're seeing is really corrosion? So it was all good questions. So we did a lot of research together with our partners. And we gave like many use cases of we told the guys, block this reel, it has corrosion, so they tore down the machine, sent it to the lab, then they confirmed this was corrosion. There was a reel with counterfeit components. We thought, stop this. There was a counterfeit reel. Went to the lab. Yes, it's a counterfeit. So we got this collaboration, verification on this kind of thing. Now, statistics that we have about counterfeit is more complicated, because if you buy components in a free market, the statistics is about 4 to 5% is counterfeit.
Wow.
If you buy them in the free market, like from brokers or jobbers, this is the statistic. I'm not talking about the low-level brokers. I'm talking like the top-of-the-line brokers.
Yeah.
So because
between 4 and 5%. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also statistics about how many mixed reels you have, because, for example, I don't know if you see this in the camera, but this component here, for example, you see as a top marking. Now the system is looking at every individual component in this reel and is checking that there's only one date code, one lot code inside this reel. So you can see many cases that they are mixed. You see in the same reel that's supposed to have only one type of component or one lot code, you see 2, 3, 4, 5, and sometimes they are concatenated, so they're one after the other. Sometimes they are mixed. You see all kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's about 4 to 5% for reels coming from the open market. In the general population, or when we see it through the S&T pick and place machine, it's about 0.4%, which is also a lot.
Yeah.
And again, talking the top of the line manufacturers, not really one that have really powerful quality assurance capabilities.
Okay, it's fascinating, isn't it? It's interesting to get that data and interesting to be able to feed that data back and let people know what to look at. What's the show been like so far? What's the response been like here?
Actually, I'm losing my throat out of talking all the time. Yeah. So far, so good. The first time I am in Apex, last year my colleague were, and we usually most of the time go to Electronica or Productronica. But so far so good. We get some really good feedbacks, and we're looking to get customers and partnerships going on. We're really here to make a change. Because think about it, today so much work is being put into the process to make the process better and controllable, and Industry 4.0, and every aspect of every machine is measured and optimized and checked, but nobody's looking at the components. Nothing. The only technology that involves the actual component is basically to trust the suppliers, which is not really a technology.
Wow. And your data proves that.
Yeah, think about it. You put so much work on process and almost zero on the components, the materials itself. It means that all the faults that you have today are caused by the component. So doing a step toward resolving the side of putting the effort into the components will very quickly give you value, because this is completely uncharted area. You didn't do anything. So
no, it's fascinating. And what I would say, just to finish, Eyal, is everybody's talking about AI here. You're one of the few companies that are actually doing it and living that every day with your product. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you very much.